It's like I'm walking on sunshine.
All right, welcome to DoomCast number 38. My name is Doug Owen. To my side here, to my left, Charlie McGrath, as always. It's the 23rd day of April, 2014, and we're back here doing it again. The website's DoomCast.com. And what's up, Charlie McGrath? How are you doing, my friend?
I'm chilling. I'm chilling in Vancouver like a good Canadian.
Ah. You know, in Canada, they have square wheels.
They do not. That's a myth. They don't. What? They do? I didn't see any square wheels, although the traffic made me feel like everybody was in cement with square wheels. Wheels.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
no,
it's
that's just a rumor. It's just a misnomer.
I do believe it's a misnomer. Their wheels seem to be quite round in nature, from what I've seen. I've been here since Sunday, actually. What is it? It's Wednesday, going on Thursday. And yeah, I got into Edmonton Sunday night, worked all day in Edmonton yesterday, flew into Vancouver yesterday, and spent all day driving up and down the, what do they call it? The Lower Mainland. That's what they call it here in Canada when you're in Vancouver and you're not out on one of the islands. I'm in the Lower Mainland. And so I'm beat, but nothing, and I mean nothing, will keep me from the doom. Nothing.
Not even the Canadian Mounties. And what's it like going through the border now? I haven't been to Canada. I actually went to Victoria 2000, probably 8 or 9. I'm trying to think when my sister graduated college. I should know this. But
since I was on an airplane, it was really easy. I just flew over it.
Oh, you did? Okay, so you're not ferrying. I thought you were driving up and down the West Coast there.
No. Well, I am. I'm in a rental car from Vancouver, and I drove down to the lower parts of BC, but I never went back across the border. Oh. Although I have, let's see, a year ago I crossed from Niagara Falls into Canada, and it was onerous. I mean, it was more onerous coming in than going into Canada. You know, what was that little bit of joy?
No, it's just my computer doing something stupid.
Tweak.
Yeah,
Tweak.
Sorry about that. Sorry.
That's all right. No, but it was weird. I mean, just weird. They have like radiological detectors and all that crap lining each side of your car. It's almost like going through a car wash, except it's all technology that's irradiating you and shriveling up your testicles.
Yeah, I was just looking for this article. Yeah, here it is. The FBI adds people to no-fly list for refusing to become informants. So obviously, I mean, that means that you're probably an informant because they're still letting you fly.
I'm an FBI shill. It's obvious.
Obviously. Yeah, this out of The Guardian. Just one of,
I often wonder when, like, I step into when you do fly across the border, right? You fill out paperwork as you're in air, and when you land, you have to go through customs. You got to go collect your bag, and then go to customs, and you hand in your little form, and then they ask you a few questions, and you scroll along your way. And I often wonder the return trip. If ever there's going to be in some kind of put me on a list because I'm a Ron Paul supporter.
Retribution for the Doom.
Yeah, Doomtribution. Would it be at that customs post where they're like, yeah, we see you here, and we're going to go ahead and not let you back in? Which, if I didn't have a kid down there, I wouldn't care. I love Canada. I love it.
Well, Canadians are getting richer. That's a big news article this week as well. That Canadians are the middle class is expanding. Whereas in the U.S., they're not. Of course, They attribute it mostly to healthcare. The fact that healthcare bankrupts so many people, it becomes such a financial burden for so many people in this country.
Well, let's look at the reality of this, though. First of all, I believe that's true. I believe the middle class, and I saw that article, by the way, and the shrinking. The U.S. is no longer the richest middle class in the world. But let's look at some reality here. Canada, bigger geographically than the United States. 30 million people versus 312 million people in the U.S. We are inundated, ladies and gentlemen, with propaganda on the Canadian political system and how they're socialist or virtually communists, right? This is what we hear. And listen, I live in a red state. Doug, you live in a red state. You hear all the time, I'm sure, when this topic's brought up. Well, Woody, do you want to be like Canada? Well, actually, yeah, I kind of do. because I'm paying absorbent amount of taxes. Yes, on the surface they have a higher income tax rate than we do, but you can bet your bippy that you're paying more in taxes, hidden taxes, and it's going to a bunch of bankers. Here we go, third week in a row. A bunch of bankers are the ones who are benefiting from this lucrative system we call free market capitalism, which it isn't. And let me be real clear on that. I'm not against free market capitalism. I'm against this bastardized form of free market capitalism that we have here. So, yeah, you see the results of it. Canadian smaller population actually using their tax dollars to benefit the people. I'm not saying it's perfect, but I am saying that at least I believe it's more fair of a system on the medical front than it is with what we have. Especially with the revelations this week with Sebelius being launched out of her position and the debacle that is Obamacare.
She's going to be. I saw she's tapped to be some other person in government doing some other thing. I forget. The rotating door of opportunity.
You said tapped, and I thought you were going somewhere else. So never mind.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No. Actually, before the show, I was watching the Four Horsemen documentary, the feature documentary film. Have you seen this? Has John Perkins, Joe Stiglitz, Simon Johnson, a bunch of other people, even Max Kaiser in it. It's really good. It's basically these top economists explaining the four horsemen of the apocalypse and explaining what we're seeing right now, some of the struggles economically, especially with empires, and going through and looking at some of the tall tale signs that we are in the last days or years or decades of the decline that we've seen so often. And one of the things I took away from this, I don't know if you've seen it yet, it's pretty funny, but the glorification of cooks happened in Rome, and they cite multiple examples throughout history. One of the things that you have is this overglorification of things like cooking, food, the glorification of gladiator sports, and of course we see. Look at NCAA football. Billions and billions and billions of dollars. NCAA basketball. Bill Clinton, George Bush, going to Jerry World down in Dallas. Just the amount of spectacles that we have. But the thing that I thought was pretty crazy is that it's the focus on these chefs. And you really see that here in Austin, where it's. And I'm a foodie. I am a foodie. I'm a crunchy organic hippie when it comes to my food. And
Doug, what's happening to you? You're cutting out.
I don't know. Cheap internet, hotel, Wi-Fi problem.
Can you hear me? No. Yeah, okay. Can you hear me? Okay.
You're just kind of bubbling. You're good. You're just not dominating. Go ahead.
Well, I was hearing you fine, and then it chopped out, and I just did my radio program, and it was cool. So whatever. I don't know. Can you hear me okay now?
I think so. Yeah. We're good, man. We're good.
All right, we're good. Well, no, I haven't seen it yet. I have it queued up here though, and it looks like it's going to be my evening watch. But talking about that is very interesting to me that the overglorification of. What would that be? Carnal pleasure? Is that it?
Carnal pleasure, food. What it comes down, primal even maybe.
Yeah, primal. Yeah. Well, carnal more. You're obsessed with food. You're obsessed with sex. You're obsessed with being titillated through gladiator sports, and it becomes your focus. And it really, for a lot of people, and I know you can speak to this because you and I have before. There are people that are literally obsessed, right? That's their whole life. The brackets or March Madness or the draft or their team or, and it becomes their major distraction. So, and in a lot of ways, it's an opiate, right? Because it pacifies. You can't sit back and absorb. Well, you can, but if you do, you're going to end up on a podcast called DoomCast. You're going to have to take some kind of action.
Yeah. You know what? Real quickly, I'm just going to hang up and call you right back just to reestablish a connection. It sounds good. I'm getting like 98% of it. It's just kind of bubbling. It's some of that Skype.
Okay.
That Skype googly noise here. Sorry about that. Charlie's like, I've been driving him nuts here before the show about his microphone. Like, damn it. All right, let's see.
Klondike 624. Can I help you?
A lot better.
Yeah.
Better.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, I mean the decadence and the kind of morality, but I thought some of the other oddball stuff. Yeah, the carnal pleasure. Yeah, all of those parallels. They're almost cliche, but cooking shows, a big takeaway from it.
The Four Horsemen feature documentary official version, is it free, Doug Owen?
Yeah, it's free. I don't know if it's supposed to be. I've got it at blacklistedradio.com. I put it on that website. We'll put it on the DoomCast. We'll add it to the post after the show.
Very good, very good. The cooking. I mean, it is funny to see the nonstop attempt. I mean, it's kind of like the MythBusters or the Finding Bigfoots, or I think a lot of it is to do. You have a million channels to fill up. So they'll grab onto a genre and just go bat crap crazy trying to figure out different. I saw advertisements for another cooking one where it's like a game of roulette or a game of Wheel of Fortune where so there's no end to trying to spin these carnal programs into something that helps sell ad revenue. But it certainly is true that we are a people that are obsessed with feeling good.
Sure, and yeah, there's nothing wrong. I mean, with your favorite Rachael Ray cooking show or whatever you like. I mean, she's
got a weird face though.
Yeah, she does kind of.
Yeah, it's like the Joker smile. Have you ever noticed that?
Yeah, a little bit.
It's creepy.
She's almost hot, but not quite. Just off, just a little bit.
Just off a hot. That's a really, really good way to describe that. She's just off a hot.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I got a few different directions I kind of wanted to take the show. There's a few things that I heard you talking about pre-show. I listened to Sergei Lavrov. He was talking to the American people via RT. Speaking of which, you know what? Let's just do some media updates. I actually have some notes here. You went on RT recently.
I did.
How did that go?
It went good. It was. I'm trying to remember the topic of discussion at this point. I think it
must have been riveting. No,
it was riveting. Well, it was late. They keep doing these 1 a.m.ers on me, and it's kind of late. It was on Ukraine, and that's what it was. It was on the Geneva deal or the Geneva statement that came out, where everybody promises to play nice and not escalate violence, and we're going to get third party spectators to come in there and make sure that everything's fine, and it was all crap. It's all a lie. Nobody's going to go to any kind of a convention or summit and say, well, we're going to just shoot the hell out of anybody that comes across this line. That's what's going to happen. I mean, this situation isn't under control at all. It isn't de-escalating at all. It's going to continue to get worse, but all sides involved were playing nice at this release of this statement. And the evidence of that is, headlines even as of today. I saw headlines where, U.S. troops, and I said this in the RT interview, if it's so close to having a region that is calmed down and peace is going to break out, then why at that time it was just the Polish defense minister bragging to the point that U.S. troops were going to be boots on the ground in Poland, and today I see that they finally arrived there. So they're looking for the next battle zone, right, after Afghanistan, and they're looking also for the validity of NATO. They need to establish the validity and the purpose of NATO. So you were going to see the rebuilding of a superpower that we can be afraid of, and we're going to see a reemergence of Cold War type tactics. I don't know if it goes full on 80s style like the music you like to play, but it certainly is pushing that direction.
That's not 80s style music, though. I have to correct you. It's just punk rock. And punk rock really originated in the 70s.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I agree. I wouldn't argue with you. You're very much
but I guess
than
maybe
me.
people think about Rancid. They kind of think about the ska genre, and they think about its prevalence, in the 80s. Social Distortion, a lot of I guess it got a lot more play, or was more. You're just a little bit older than me, and
How about
so.
like,
Go ahead.
Nah, we got to point that out every episode, don't we?
No, it's just that I missed some of those glammy 80s. I was a child in the 80s, so I
okay. I was an adult.
So the 80s were different for me. They're different. I was forced to listen to the Mama and the Papas and other classic rock. My dad was into stuff like Black Sabbath and Cream and Crosby, Stills, and Nash. So I missed an era there.
I think you're describing me. You describe me. What are you? I'm like a week older than you, Owen. That's all. Wait a minute. How old are you? You're like 37, right?
36, yeah.
36. Okay. Well, so I'm 1 years older than you. Just a few.
Just a few. You look better than me. You're aging well.
I'm a fat bastard. That's what I am.
No, you're not.
Yes, dude. Listen to me. I'm telling you right now. I met with clients all day long, and then I met with somebody that I am a client of. And obviously I don't want to give specifics here, but it's one of the largest testing firms in the world. And I went in there, and we've spent a lot of money with this company. So they took me out to a very, very nice lunch / it's my meal of the day, a sushi joint. And I ate more frickin' fish than should even be legally allowed. I just pounded down the sushi like it was going out of style. And I was immersed neck deep in California rolls before I realized that I'm eating this irradiated Fukushima Sushi. And I got a little bit depressed after that. But now I'm just full, fat, old, bald, and tired.
Oh, come on now! You still got the DoomCast. Sorry. You've still got the Doomers out there. You still serve a purpose.
It's why I live.
Hey,
that's why I live, brother, for the Doomers.
Oh well, I saw you in a video today. We'll get.
I'm not moving. What'd I do? Are you there?
No, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Bubbly, freaking Skype. Yeah.
I'm sorry, man. It's Vancouver love. That's all that is.
Damn you, Canadians, with your square internet. No, anyway. I saw the video of you today in your hotel room. We'll talk about that coming up. But I wanted to mention this because this is a big revelation. The Polish left-wing weekly, it's a Polish news site here, published a startling witness account of the training being given to the most violent of the Euro-Maiden activists. So it's pretty interesting. I want to play some clips from Sergey. I've got a bunch of good audio we're going to get into for the benefit of, because I had some time today. I want to thank
there you go. Let's hear it.
Yeah, but anyway, basically the Polish government was training these Euro-Maiden activists up to 2 months in advance. So this really does point towards a larger coup d'etat. So Sergey Lavrov on RT, I don't know the young lady's show name. Sophie Co is the name of her show. That's what she goes by. That's her Twitter handle on RT. She got an interview with Sergey Lavrov, who speaks pretty decent English. I hadn't really listened to much of his statements. Usually you just get Sergey in little sound bites. So this is for the American public. This is the English version RT. And he had some interesting things to say. And one of those, and I didn't clip this, but just to kind of set it up, the commentator, Sophie, actually asked Lavrov, what's the point of going to the Geneva Convention? Why are you going and signing these pointless things when basically the current Kiev regime, and that's what he calls them repetitively, why they even bother with international law? So it's pretty interesting. But Sergey, here we go. This is the first one. Breaks down what's happening and martial law. Say that. Come on, Sergey. Come on, Windows.
I don't want even to mention the sniper cases.
Oh, yeah, and he mentions the snipers.
I don't want even to mention the sniper cases because everyone forgot about those snipers. And we only hear that let's concentrate on eliminating terrorist threat in the east and in the south. So in Geneva, we all agreed that there must be end of any violence. Next morning or next afternoon, Turchinov declared the state almost a state of emergency and ordered the army to shoot at the people if the people are engaged in peaceful protests. In Geneva, we agreed that there must be total rejection of extremists And the right sector is still very active. And after Geneva, the right sector staged provocations, killing several people in the vicinity of Slaviansk during the Easter summit.
So basically, he's highlighting the killing over the weekend, the violence, the hypocrisy that the government in Kiev is not abiding by this treaty that they signed or this agreement, the pact, and that. Well, basically, that he alludes that the snipers were probably nobody wants to talk about actually how this happened. So and he drops the bombshell, and you're not hearing the American media talk about martial law in Ukraine, and you're not hearing anything from all of those people that are for independence and autonomy and sovereignty coming to the aid of the current Euro-Maiden protesters, the anti-Maiden protesters there. So he mentions martial law. Thoughts?
Well, first of all, is my audio good, Brother Doug?
Yeah, you sound good, man. This is nice.
All right. I did a little switch up there where you're playing them. Yeah, I mean, that was exactly to my point, which is that that Geneva Convention, which, it wasn't, but the Geneva Letter that was released talking about we're all going to play nice, was a bunch of hoax. I mean, a bunch of bullucks, as they say in England. It's meaningless. It's completely meaningless. This situation is now to the point where you have neo-Nazis, right? That's who is the Western-backed government. They're not going to let go of power. They're not going to do it. We backed them. We put them in there. We dismantled the elected government.
And that's part of the accord is disarming the
rabble rousers. Right. You're going to disarm the troublemakers. But the problem is the troublemakers is who we spent $5 billion and had 60 programs to put into place. So what are they just going to lay down now? And there's no functioning government in Ukraine without these characters, and they're absolutely going to just snipe people, knock them over, do whatever. They're not going to lay down their AKs and play nice all of a sudden because John Kerry goes before a podium and says some cool words in Geneva. It's a freaking mess, and like it or not, again, not an apologist for the corrupt government of Eastern European nations, but I am more than disturbed by our involvement. Doug Owen, I'm disturbed by your involvement, and that's what it is, because this is all happening in our names. These NGOs that spend billions and billions of dollars to destabilize countries, there's an absolute result when that happens. And this result is hardly ever anything but disastrous. But then you need to ask yourself, isn't that the ultimate goal? Destabilize. Okay, Charlie, if that's the ultimate goal to destabilize, why? Why? Because the IMF, they want to land on Ukraine and pick it like a vulture. The NATO alliance wants to get one step closer to the direct border with Russia. The European Union wants to use the trade routes and the resources of Ukraine to stave off economic collapse for Europe. There's reasons for everything that happens, and hardly any of them are addressed by establishment media. That's why, I'm a great proponent, even though I know it's slanted one direction or another. I'm a great proponent of independent media sources such as RT and Press TV.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, Joe Biden's on the ground right now, or he's just wrapping up his tour. He was promoting fracking as part of this missionary force on his Ukrainian trip. So, it's very evident that the United States is using the current government as a number one. I mean, there's no legitimacy. They're trying the best to really, patch things up, make it seem like there's this transitional government that's legitimate, and they're going to have some kind of referendum in the very near future. But when you look at all of the solutions that they're promoting, it's fracking to basically destroying the base to hurt Russia. And so Sergey, I think, really hits it on the head, and this is what he basically equates this to. And he's saying that it doesn't matter, you could take Ukraine out of the situation. It's happening in Libya. It's happening in Syria. And he talks about it. So the interview, it's posted at blacklistednews.com, or you can find it anywhere. RT, I'm sure, has it. It's worth a watch. The full 30 minutes or so is pretty interesting discussion. And one of the things you can always tell with the RT staff, and myself as well, I would have this exact problem. It's like, why won't you just say that these are lying bastards, Sergey? Yeah, why won't you just tell us that John Kerry is a douchebag? But he's much smarter than that. But he's much smarter than that, and this is what he
So you meet a lot of American politicians besides John Kerry, and the rhetoric from both sides is pretty harsh. Do you feel like the Americans are ready for a real confrontation with Russia over Ukraine?
Now, I love this question, okay? Are they really ready to dig their feet in? Are we really ready for a confrontation, a war in Ukraine? Is the U.S. in Sergey's mind?
Yeah.
Well, I already said that it is not about Ukraine. Ukraine is just one manifestation of the American unwillingness to yield in the geopolitical fight. Americans are not ready to admit that they cannot run the show in each and every part of the globe from Washington alone. They cannot impose their ready-made solutions on everyone. And they cannot understand that, I mean, they begin to understand, I think, but they still have the instincts that they shouldn't really take on board what others believe should be done.
Yeah, and basically he alludes to the fact that these are ready-made, pre-planned governments. This is, a part of a plan. I mean, it's a part of a doctrine.
That's right.
Instituted.
Doug, listen to me.
I'm trying so hard, Charlie.
Here.
I'm really, really trying, but you're like
I know.
cutting
Listen.
out.
Listen. I got to respond on this, and I heard it all, but I know I'm garbled coming in. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to restart this system and then call you right back. So can you delay can we cut and record?
Yeah, I'm marking the tape right now. Go ahead and do that, man. No worries. I'll stall.
I'll stall away, man. I'll be right back.
All right. Reconnected with Charlie McGrath. Back.
Yeah, and definitely, I mean, where we left off was you were talking, recap that interview with the notion that we have these ready-made governments that can just be inserted from Washington. That Doug, you talked early in the program about the fall of empires, right? The Four Horsemen, and how the love affair of gladiator games and the love affair of decadence, of self-indulgence, of carnal pleasures were the telltale signs of the death of empire, the death of or the predecessor to apocalyptic events in times past. And so is the control from on high of the world, right? Rome could control the Brits, right, from Rome. They couldn't control their ever-expanding and decadent empire that was becoming top-heavy and enriching so few while enslaving and impoverishing so many. And this is just another example of that. We destabilize regions of the world, thinking that we can, topple this regime and have ready-made allies to step in and become governments. Well, it's what we're finding out over and over again is either A, the governments aren't so willing to topple, and the paper tiger nature of our force is becoming known. Or B, we put in these guys that end up being absolutely monsters, and you let that genie out of the bag, and guess what? It's devastating.
Yeah, I mean, this approach, I think, ultimately, this is what they believe. I think this is the most benign belief, that, yeah, you're going to use a bunch of crazy, radical, right-wing nutbags to go after the government. You're going to get a bunch of, separatists and other, ne'er-do-wells. I mean, just not great people, but that, you can, once you get them into position, you can easily just get rid of those people. They're not going to be reelected, and basically they'll turn a blind eye while there's an eradication process. Because that's usually what the U.S. does. Go back to the Korean War. We turned a blind eye to 40,000 leftists and dissidents being killed. 40,000. Okay, and that's one of the, I guess, least contested U.S. military interventions post-World War II.
Sure.
I mean, I look at some that are more atrocious, like what happened in Panama. Just one case in point. I mean, there's so many. I mean, we could just go down that rabbit hole.
You speak of personal experience. You were there, right?
What's that, in Panama?
Yeah.
No.
When I thought when you were
was in the
sailor.
peacetime Bill Clinton Navy. That's what I was in. Okay, it was good, except for what happened in
Love,
Kosovo.
baby.
Yeah, so I mean, it was really interesting for me. I mean, just a personal anecdote to see the shift. When I was in the military in the 90s, people really did like the U.S. military, especially people in ports. Throughout Europe, you just saw this kind of general appreciation. That sentiment, and quite honestly, because of the instability that has been created in the last decade, there's places that I visited, like Giza, like Turkey, that I would never go back to now. Well, kind of sketchy, even kind of scary and sketchy at the time. I would never go back to Turkey. I would never go to Izmir.
Yeah, because they'd chop your head off now. You show up in some of these places. I too, Turkey, Iraq, Kuwait, places that are still destabilized to this very day. And with all that hindsight of the last few decades, we're talking about a couple of relatively young guys here, but we've grown up. You just think about this, Owen. Think about this. Since I was since I went into the military in 1988, right, and then the beginning of the Gulf War in 91, we have been at war nonstop since then. Now it's escalated to the point that it is today. That you need to ask yourself, where is it going to lead to? And let me read this this story to you to give you an idea of where it's going to lead to. U.S. Army paratroopers are arriving in Poland on Wednesday as part of a wave of U.S. troops heading to shore up America's Eastern European allies in the face of Russian meddling in the Ukraine. Pentagon Press Secretary, Pentagon Press Secretary Rear Admiral John Kirby said an initial contingent of about 600 troops will head to 4 countries across Eastern Europe for military exercises over the next month. You better realize, folks, what that is. You better realize we're sending troops into Eastern European countries, and we're openly saying it's to head off the Russian threat. That is a very, very surreal, yet very real situation that we all better be abreast of, because it has doom written all over it.
Oh, well, I think that's just more posturing and trying to make the Polish people feel better. Because
no,
everybody's going to know that everybody's already assuming that the Polish were in on it. So, and because of the obvious launch pad, it has become you mentioned this before. I think that NATO has to remain relevant. They need money. They need a purpose. This gives NATO a purpose, and because that's what we're selling is security to these people. So you got to bring in some troops. We're going to bring in 600 troops to make you feel good. They'll come and get drunk at the bars. No.
Posture, no. You don't put boots on the ground. That's not posturing. That's not even sable.
There's like 60,000 troops, U.S. troops, we're in Germany, but we're not invading Germany. That's 100,000 times the amount of troops that we're putting in Poland.
Well, it is, but this is Poland. Poland isn't Germany, right? Poland isn't Germany isn't a former Eastern Bloc country that we have troops stationed in. We have
yes, it is
stationed in what was West Germany. Listen, posturing is you're putting a destroyer in the Black Sea. That's posturing, right? Posturing is you're flying satellites over that region and keeping tabs on things. When you're putting M16 toting troops on the ground, that's more than just posturing. That's saying this is the line in the sand.
I disagree. I think it's public relations. I think it's telling Poland, you better get in line. You better give your donation to the NATO bloc. You need to get involved. We'll give you some weapons. You'll feel good about it. At the end of the day, I don't think that Russia is going to invade the Ukraine. I don't think that there's going to be a war over the Ukraine. And I think that what Sergei Lavrov said is correct, that the United States, because we just don't have the money or the influence anymore, is learning the hard way. And one of the things that you're going to take away from that film, the Four Horsemen, when you watch it tonight, is that elites are always disconnected. And at any time you have an empire, it always tries to show its force. It tries to show that it still has the panache, it still has the impact that it once had. And that's what we have. We have Joe Biden going to Kiev. I mean, he's the photo op guy. He's the guy that band-aids the problem. He goes, he smiles. So I think a lot of this is to lend some credence. I mean, just this week, just to kind of parallel, we reaffirmed that we would protect Japan if attacked by China in the Senkaku Islands. Now, that's a big, big deal. And by the way, TPP is faltering. Speaking of cows, I do want to talk about Bunkerville and Clive and Bundy and the latest narrative there. But, this idea that, we're providing security. That was one of the big, I think the biggest not talked about factor in TPP. But the other thing is that it's cow prices. So when you look at international law and what's happening now, President Barack Obama has a lot of irons in the fire, and what he's trying to sell is this Asia pivot and the need and the ability to provide security to Japan. Do you think that we can provide? I don't think that we could provide security for Japan, and I don't think that people outside of you and I and other honest, unbiased analysts believe that either. At some point, people are saying, well, they have all the money, they have all of our debt, they've got the weaponry, they've got billions of people that have nothing better to do except start a war or fight in a war. So at some point, can you really protect Japan? I don't think so.
No, but I think the key difference there is one is posturing and one isn't. I do think making the statement over protecting Japan from China or placing strategic assets within striking distance like a carrier or a destroyer, although a destroyer is not much of a massive threat, it is absolutely posturing, is different than rotating troops in for Eastern European countries to show, to flex the muscle of NATO. And in fact, Chuck Hagel says the exercises are part of an effort announced last week by the Defense Secretary Hagel, aimed at reassuring NATO allies of Americans' commitment to the region's defense. It is posturing, I believe, to make statements. It is posturing, I think, to move assets around. But when you're putting literally American soldiers in these potential battlegrounds, I think that is an escalation of posturing. So I don't know what to call it other than a step up. It isn't just rhetoric. It's a step up.
It's a stopgap. It's a stopgap. It says, okay, look, you can't go any farther. Okay, you've gone this far, but you're not going any farther. Okay, this is the line.
What did we learn? What did we learn when we start drawing? The last half a decade,
we got red lines all over the place. Charlie McGrath.
Yeah, and what have we learned? When these red lines are put down, America is being shown as the paper tiger. They're getting stomped right over, and then we just created another.
Even the New York Times.
We saw it happen.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to mention the New York Times yesterday published these Ukrainian photos proving, without a doubt, that the Georgian mercenary Russian special elite teams are there on the ground in Kiev. Well, the Photoshop was so bad. I mean, just to the casual onlooker, anybody that looks at this, we could see that these people are different people. And I think it's pretty funny because it parallels some of the other crisis actors. I don't know if you know, but the Pentagon is looking for more crisis actors. So that that always, people always wonder how much of this is staged. And just last week in Russia, they had a big row over fake actors. The guy plays a doctor in one package. He's playing a disgruntled guy. It's anyway. So that
the same guy every
and he was obviously busted, and now they're busting the mainstream media here in the U.S. for doing it as well, because we can actually hold to account. People have infinite ability to record and document. Anyway, it was up for one day. Ukraine provides evidence Russian military is part of the civil unrest, and lo and behold, they've totally retracted it, apologized. But it doesn't matter because they ran it, and the majority of people aren't going to look at these retractions. So, I think it's important. But if it was,
and if it wouldn't have got busted, if it wouldn't have been so obvious and got busted, it would have just been left there as a matter of record, right? And that happens all the time. It's generating fear and anger to lead people into war.
Well, the feds are at it again. I don't know if you can hear me that well. I heard some bubbling there on the the Skypes.
I got you, but I know that I know you got a lot of things to cover. But before we get into any more technical issues, which unfortunately we've been playing at this hour,
I
do want to acknowledge the people, actually the contributors this week because you have those names, I have those names, so we'll get those out. But also, we're going to give away that half ounce of silver.
Well, let's do that, and then we'll finish up with this. I've got a couple other things. We can go to Bunkerville and the Hollywood sex ring.
Yeah.
All right.
Ooh, sounds good. Well, what you hear here, this is a hat with names, right? Right. And do you want to do the acknowledgments of the week?
Yeah, we can acknowledge this is not a gambling institution. I don't even know if we're like getting into wire transfer because you're in Canada or some other arbitrary law that they'll come and put a black bag over your head there. But yeah,
I'm giving away.
Go ahead.
I'm giving away a $25 half ounce. I know before people freak out, it's a year of the horse. It's a very, very nice coin. So it was $25 worth of silver to a listener. No money had to change hands. Nobody. I'm doing this for people who either A, sent in via email, which a few did, and just gave me their name and address. Their name is in the hat. And I also picked from the people who contributed to the DoomCast PayPal donation tab. So everybody, I've got names and addresses of everybody who's entered into this program. You did not have to pay any money whatsoever to be eligible to win this. Correct, Amundo?
Oh, yeah. No purchase necessary.
All right, Doug. From Austin, Texas, I need you to reach across the border and grab a name out of this hat. You ready?
All right. Go ahead.
All right, now hand it to me. All right, thank you.
There you go.
Got it. And our winner is, okay, I'm not going to give the name. I'm going to say Sarah K., Lincoln, Nebraska. You, my friend, have won yourself a half ounce Year of the Horse round. Sarah, I know I have your information, so go ahead. And this is the only other caveat. You had to hear it on DoomCast. You had to hear your name. Send me your response of "Yay!" and I'll get that half ounce put in the mail to you. And trust me, don't be a Sarah lookalike because I do have her real address and I know who she is. She's followed the program.
People, no shenanigans.
No shandaggery going on here. So that is the giveaway. But I do want to thank. Well, do you want to give the acknowledgments of the week, or do you want me to run with this?
Yeah, and I got to get the one from you for last week too, and so I can put it into the blog, into the post. But
what are you putting?
Just their name, Daniel in Arlington, Washington, gave us $50.19.
I know, crazy, right? Love it.
Yeah, so just the first name and your general location. Andrew in New Jersey gave us $35. No, wait, he gave us $25. Correction there.
Correct.
Larry in California, this might be a small town there, gave 10. And Carol in Brighton, Colorado, gave us 38 smackaroos. So thank you all for supporting the DoomCast. Far from where we can fully ingratiate ourselves into the show full time, but
that's right.
We're on our way. We're buying an hour or two or three a week, and we're trying to get Charlie McGrath a better microphone and maybe me an upgraded internet connection. I'm not sure what's been happening tonight. Maybe we can just blame it on the government.
On fate. Yeah, blame it on the government.
Blame it on Doom. Yeah. I'm going to blame it. So
yeah, and I want to reiterate that that if you sent your name to enter the contest, you were put into that hat. In fact, Sarah K. can attest to that because that's how her name rolled into the hat since last week. So, and actually, you just heard the people who donated last week, and she was not on that list. So, no money needed to change hands. Why am I being so paranoid now? You got me all worried, Owen.
Yeah, because, you think about it, those are the little things. That's how they got Al Capone. They finally came after him. They're like, aha, got you on tax evasion. You can't sell silver in Canada. That's no good. Anyway.
You know what? I got a anecdote on silver and Canada. Here we go. I stopped at a gas station because I had an hour and a half drive back to the hotel, and I wanted to get a bottle of water. And I'm standing there at the counter, and I look behind the counter, and they have the cans of chewing tobacco, right?
Yeah.
And it's in a case, almost bulletproof looking case. And I'm asking the kid, I'm like, what's up with that? How come? And he goes, oh, it's expensive. We don't want any of it stolen. What's expensive? And he goes, $26 a can. And I'm like, are you freaking for real?
Yeah.
I think in the States it's what, $4 or $5 a can or whatever, but
Yeah,
20. It goes, yeah, and there's a big old tax stamp right on the top of the lid. And I said, let me see that. And he handed me the can, and I'm holding it, and I'm like, this is about a half of an ounce. This is about a half of an ounce. So this can of Copenhagen that I was holding is worth twice as much as silver. It was crazy. It's that's my story.
Yeah, when I was there, I actually still smoked cigarettes, and I remember the Canadian cigarettes. Let's see, this is probably 2008. We're right at like $12 a pack, so that's 20 cigarettes. Do the math.
Oh my goodness!
And that you had they had them behind the counter, and they had pictures of black lungs, people hacking. I mean, with the throat box thing going on there, the voice box, and people that were chopped up.
Thank you for
it was so it was so macabre. Yeah, that guy. And yeah, I shouldn't make fun because anyway, don't want to make fun of. Yeah, it could be easily. Think about this: if you're in Canada, you're paying $26 a can for your cancer. That's amazingly expensive, and it's all taxes. But those taxes, see, this is the other side of that. We kind of we started off talking about their healthcare system. The reason that they can afford that is because the people that dare sin pay heavy prices, and then really basically only rich people can enjoy something like tobacco. So welcome back to 1764, where only the wealthy can have something like tobacco. And anyway, I mean, it's just amazing that people pay that. That I thought when cigarettes went up to $4 a pack, I'm like, this is crazy. Now I see them; they're $6, $7, $8 a pack, depending where you live. If you live in Massachusetts, you're paying crazy. New York City, you're paying crazy. You're probably paying $20 a pack at store.
I would have a little tobacco farm. I'd have a little window box tobacco farm.
Well, that's why people smuggle cigarettes. You don't hear about it that often here, but they have a lot of that in Canada. Why? Because you can make a lot of money.
You can make a buttload of money.
Simple economics, supply and demand. That's all there is to it, and that's why you're going to have that. You're going to have underground tobacco economy, just like you have any other black market. So. I wanted to inject a few things here, some updates from Bunkerville, Nevada, and this is the latest. And there's been some new memes initiated this week. I mean, everybody's getting in on it. Jon Stewart lambasting Sean Hannity, using it as a wedge issue to basically show how he's a hypocrite, because he's actually one of the few people, not even Glenn Beck, are really behind Clive and Bundy, but. And Harry Reid's comments are interesting, but this is the update from today, which I believe, quite honestly, is probably a psyop in and of itself.
This is 8 News Now.
At 5. Really? Thanks for being with us. Militia groups are still surrounding the Bundy Ranch days after the BLM ended its cattle roundup.
But many among those groups think they've been infiltrated by undercover federal agents. One man who had been among the armed protesters says at least 2 federal agents came in undercover to gather information and are preparing to make arrests. Lauren Rosella is live in Bunkerville, where tensions are high. Lauren.
I was told by a militia man, you'd better tell the truth. Anonymous is watching. Well,
did you hear that? Listen to this. Yeah. This little ditty. The way she starts it out, which makes me laugh.
I was told by a militia man, you'd better tell the truth. Anonymous is watching. Well, that man didn't want to elaborate on that, but he.
Well, that man didn't want to elaborate on that, but it's pretty funny because I could just see some militia guy, Anonymous is watching you, bitch. You better watch it. You better tell the truth.
He is living over in this camp, heavily guarded, where they're prepared to live for weeks, even months. But now there's a lot of uncertainty circling the Bundy Ranch. These self-described militiamen say they took an oath to protect.
When you pledge your life and your fortune, you're prepared to give it up.
But an atmosphere of uncertainty now surrounds the Bundy Ranch. These guards can't be entirely sure.
You don't know until you actually catch somebody.
But they say it's entirely possible federal agents are now among them, posing as fellow militia.
Well, it's always something that we're always thinking about.
Well, anyway, yeah, it goes on here, and just this idea that the prospect of it is just one of the many salvos that is being launched against the Bundy Cliven Ranch protests. The other one is that they're starting Bundy Fest. Have you heard about this?
I have.
Bundy Fest, gay-friendly. What they bill it as a gay-friendly Burning Man party of anarchy and really sexual
deviance.
Deviance.
And we go back to as we go back to the beginning of the program where we started off talking about the Four Horsemen and the decadence, and look at how we're ending it. Yeah. I do think the Bundy situation very, very interesting. Our producer Craig sent me a video of one of the guys who were standing watch over there. Really, really powerful video that he put out. Just kind of came back in from guard duty or whatever and sat down and turned on the camera. Very interesting stuff. The situation is not over, and I mean that certainly could be back in the top headline here pretty quick. Especially because I think the situation is interesting to me because you have a lot of people standing up, and the people that are standing up, exactly what you think would happen to them is happening. You have establishment media, and again, it proves there is no color of blue or red in media. It's all about pushing forward agenda. That's why you see people either backing away and not talking about it, so-called freedom lovers. You did have Beck interview Bundy, but it was in tongue-in-cheek, kind of support, not really support what you're doing. And overall, media is
you and I have been accused of that as well. Yeah, I've got several emails saying, well, you think you're so high and mighty sitting there protected behind your microphone, as if I'm not a person that has to go out and live amongst all the people, that I live in some room. And it just kind of shows you, one, how disconnected some people can be from what it sounds like this is and what it actually is. Two guys that actually have to live and work and have families and all of the other things. But no, I think it's interesting because they have changed the meme, and I like the meme now. This is the new meme. This is the way they are billing the evilness. This is now millionaire white privilege, comparing it to what it would be if it was black people. So here's the new thought, is that this guy, he's a millionaire. We all know he's very rich. Okay, he's white. He's a cattleman. Now, the government said, we're taking your property. You've been grazing these cattle for too many years without paying your fee. You owe us $1 million. We're putting our foot down, and we're going to go ahead and take that property from you. Well, they didn't, because he's rich and he's white and he has the militia. But if he was just some poor, defenseless black guy in Alabama, they would take your house, and there would be no militia there. Nobody would care. So, these are the kind of, I think, I wouldn't say misnomer, but some of the new ways to target this. I mean, if you have Jon Stewart lambasting the guy, and Harry Reid talking about it often, then it's something that they're going to, at some point, nip in the butt. And now it's just a waiting game. It's a waiting game to see who wants to wait the latest. Go ahead.
I'm confused, Doug Owen, and if I'm confused, then I want to make sure the listening audience is not confused. Right. I know what you just said. You don't believe that. You're talking the narrative now that's coming out in media. They're portraying this as it's only working that the government's backing off because he's white.
Right, rich and white, and has the militia there, and that these are domestic terrorists, and that they're using guns to instead of the law. And
that's the narrative.
Yeah, that's the new narrative. It's hard to argue. I mean, when you look at it, if I was somebody, and this is the lens that I want to look at it from, because obviously, you and I both agree that the federal overreach, and this comes right down to Agenda 21. I think that it is an imperative to understand and to focus on the property rights issue. But at the end of the day, I mean, if you think that you own the land, then I'm sure you've been paying taxes on it. Well, this is common land and we've been here forever. Well, that's great. But in any dispute, it's pretty black and white when it comes to the law. I don't appreciate the law, and I think those that break the law because bad laws, unjust laws, immoral laws, unconstitutional laws need to be broken. It is the duty of the patriot to break those laws that are unjust and unlawful. Now, is that where Clive and Bundy stands on that side of the law? And is he trying to what are we accomplishing here? Is this just to protect him and his wealth and his cattle, or is this about something much more? And so on both sides of the equation, I think that you have people from the libertarian standpoint, people that philosophically and politically think like you and I, that see this from an invasion of personal property rights and one more authoritarian attack. Really, that's what it comes down to. Ron Paul said that this week, and I agree with him, that it's authoritarianism that people find so reprehensible. Regardless, take the man out of the equation. That's what people see. But there's also going to be the people that you're trying to convince that you're doing what's right. You have to go out there. You have to protect other people. You can't just protect, people selectively. And I think that's what they're going to hone in on. Well, why?
Yeah, I don't know, but it sounds almost like you believe that. I don't think they're just, the thing is.
It's true. I've never seen. Okay, I'll be honest. I've never seen the militia come to the aid of black people. I've never seen them come to the aid of Native Americans. I don't think that we care about returning the Native American lands to them. I think that there's plenty of other issues that the libertarian alternative media types do not focus on nearly enough and would not feel nearly as vested in. So I think that there is that type of mentality. It's that that call. You go to because if you look at so much of the militia movement, I'm talking about the what we have today, not the legitimate people, but many of those others that are tied to, I think, a little bit of European exceptionalism. Not saying they're supremacists by any stretch of the mean, but it's just not something that you're going to see a lot of black people in. And I tell you what, I mean, it's pretty monochromatic when you look at the people that are out there. I'm not trying to say this, and I see this when I go to events. I go to an event where Webster Tarpley was talking about 9/11. You know how many black people I saw out of 200 people there? One. So that's always going to be a problem when you don't have when the people that are there don't seem they seem more worried about white rancher types.
I'm gonna.
I think that you're gonna lose a lot of the people.
Not accurate. I don't think that's accurate. I really don't. No, I mean the situation you just spelled out is. I mean, I can't argue with the color on the ground that's surrounding the Bundy Ranch. Although I'm not there, so I don't know if there's. No,
I'm not trying to overgeneralize, and this is where I get myself in trouble, and that's one of the things that I do.
That's why I'm trying to help. That's why I'm going to tell you.
Because I think it's true. If you can find me examples of
Montana. If you let me. I'm going to give you an example if you let me.
Okay. Of them protecting black people. Okay.
No. None of them. I can't give you that. I can't give you an example.
That's the point. That's my point is that those people, not me. I mean, you don't have to convince me. I already think that it's morally and
going to keep going. You're going to keep
reprehensible.
That noose, and you're just going to keep going.
No, because it's not me. It's not me that Jon Stewart's speaking to. Obviously.
Right. Listen. Here's the deal. Bundy is a millionaire because his family has owned that land since before BLM even existed. Yes, you have people showing up because he stood up, white, black, brown, or otherwise, and he has something that he can lose. Now, it's unfortunate that most blacks and whites and Latino are not in the situation where they have this homestead or these millions of dollars worth of property that is theirs in their name that they can have the opportunity to lose. The truth of the matter is most people, black, white, and otherwise, are dirt poor in this country, the majority, and they don't have the luxury of time to build a militia ring around their house. So I have to use, or around their property. So I have to use, my perspective of, since I've joined this movement, this truth movement, or this freedom movement, and look at the people that I have met through this community, and I'm here to tell you that the population reflects what's in this movement. I'm sitting here thinking of all the
no, that's completely different. You're talking about people that you talk to that I talk to. I know black people and a huge broad spectrum of ethnic people.
I'm just talking black people that I know.
What I'm talking about, this is why it's getting conflated. What I'm talking about is when poor people were being thrown out of their homes left and right. Okay, in 2008, in 2009, the militia didn't come there to protect them.
A lot of activists came to protect them. You're using the word militia with guns.
But the militia. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. This is about the militia.
Right.
This is.
I'm going to narrow my focus to the militia. Very good.
Right. This is my point. That's why people say, well, what's happening now is because this guy has he's just using the same tactics the government uses. You don't like the law, it doesn't matter. I write my own laws. I do what I want to do, and I'm going to put a gun to your face, and you're going to have to slaughter women and children here and look really bad if you want to take my property from me because I think I own it. So I'm not saying it's not I'm not saying that it's not a good cause, I guess. Yeah, maybe I am. I'm saying that it's not as altruistic as many people, they've attached themselves, and I think ultimately
the problem is no matter what the cause is, if the militia is going to show up like this, or I'm not going to call them militia. I'm going to say if Americans that are armed show up and put their foot down and say, you're not going to do this, it doesn't really matter what the backstory is behind it. It's going to be turned into this.
But their point is that the government wouldn't have backed down. The government is now – it's another example of how the 1% are – able to do whatever they want to do. That's the rub. That's what Jon Stewart. That's what everybody's putting out there. Of course, those people are catering to their audiences, and those are the people that are going to say this is just a rich white guy that gets away with what he wants because he's got a bunch of guns and a bunch of buddies with guns. This is George Bush. That's the kind of equation that they kind of make it. So I'm just noting the narrative. I'm saying that when you have these kind of groups that obviously have a lot of different agendas potentially, and most of them are it's not about whether it's right or wrong. It's about telling the federal government to go stick it, and rebalancing that power between the people and the state. And so I do think that this touches on property rights, nullification. I do think it touches on a lot of really important topics. So I don't want to diminish that, but at the same time, you have to recognize the talking points, and they're good ones. They've really massaged this. That's my point, Charlie McGrath. They've massaged this thing. They've couched this thing to make it look, to demonize the Bundy Bunkerville folks as much as possible.
Yeah. So well, and they've also massaged the truth and the situation and the narrative over and over again to lead astray a gullible populace. That's why we are facing, a decade plus of war on terror, on the heels of war on everything else. They're taking facts. They're taking the facts of the situation, and they're going to turn it. They're going to whore it. They're going to media whore it into a narrative that has an outcome that they predetermine they want to have happen.
They're trying to Photoshop wars with Ukraine, right? Or they're trying to Photoshop a war with Russia right now.
That's exactly right. And they're trying to paint the militia or the folks around the Bundy as a bunch of KKK, I guess, is the end of that story.
Yeah, but that's what you know what? That's what they're doing. They are definitely doing that. And then they try to equate tax resistors, sovereign citizens, all with being part of these racist groups.
Because it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse every time that somebody stands up. You're going to see this group that wants to hold on to this power at all costs, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter left, right, or middle. They're going to do whatever they need to do and say whatever they need to say to paint that person or that group or that event into some kind of horrific, national domestic terrorist event. Look, that is why Reed is coming out over and over again, making a complete fool of himself, describing these guys as domestic terrorists. I listened to his kid on an interview at the airport on Sunday, and they laughed and joked around about it. How basically, these guys are domestic terrorists, and at some point, Doug Owen, it will come to a head, and triggers are going to get pulled. I mean, they're going to get pulled. This is going to happen. And when that day comes, it's going to be a very sad day in this country. Well, I'm not in this country, but it's going to be a sad day in that country because I think, the whole social system right now is, would I be exaggerating to say it's a powder keg in the country?
Well, maybe, because I think that when I talk to people, just getting a general sense of it, I don't think that outside of I think where you have people outside of, I think where our, how would you call it? A sphere of influence? Our genre. People just don't care. I mean, I talked to my brother-in-law over the Easter holiday, and he was aware of it, and he seem pretty indifferent. Most people are pretty indifferent. I think so many people, they are getting hammered on taxes, and so anybody that doesn't want to pay their fair share, anybody they see doing better than them, they don't give a crap about. And that's just kind of the general, I think, mood of American people. This guy ain't paying his taxes, because that's what they're getting from the mainstream media. He ain't paying, okay, everybody else pays. Glenn Beck even pays. This guy doesn't pay. And you get a bunch of guys with guns out there scaring the federal government. Sound like terrorists to me. And that's because that's how it's couched, and that's why we do the show, because we're fighting a media war. Talk about infiltration. This is cognitive infiltration.
I love your Joe Public guy. It cracks me up. You're Joe Public. I'm tired. This guy ain't paying his fare. Where's Rachael Ray?
That's right. That's exactly what it is. No joke. No joking.
Brother.
Well, you know what? All of you out there, thank you for listening to DoomCast number 38.
Are we done?
We're done.
Are you mad?
Yeah, man.
Are you mad at me?
No, we're at an hour, 6 minutes, so we're
wow.
over.
Okay. Well, here's the deal. My name is Charlie McGrath. My website's wideawakenews.com. My co-founder and good friend Doug Owen, his website is blacklistednews.com. You can email Doug Owen at doug@blacklistednews.com. You can email me at info@wideawakenews.com. Please visit often DoomCast.com. Craig Simpson is uploading stuff there all the time. Doug's uploading stuff there. I'm uploading stuff there all the time. And we would be remiss if we didn't touch on a little bit about the Doomer mind that I think you and I would both agree.
Yeah, Doomology, Doomophacy. The
Doomophacy. Did you obviously you read the what Craig wrote, and then what I put to video. What you think of that?
What he defined is what we do with the show. I think that we do poke fun at one another. We've got some great feedback this week, by the way, from several people that saying, and I shared some of that with you, that we should cover more topics, more issues, that they want the analysis. They like the comedic aspect. I think one of the things that happens here is that we're very, very honest, and ultimately that does lead to a lot of hilarity. I look at the world in a very different way than I think Charlie McGrath does, and that makes always.
I don't know about that.
It makes for fun conversation when we don't agree on things.
It does.
And have heated debates.
And truth be told, I can't really think of anything that, if it is end up in a debate, that we don't usually end up pretty close, side by side on. Maybe there's misunderstanding on my part or your part on how we're effectively
communication. It's a testament to us having to communicate better with others, and that's why you need to share the show with others. And
absolutely.
But what I liked about it was the yin and yang aspect, and I don't want to just diminish it to that, because Craig actually put a lot of work and effort into writing it. It's at DoomCast.com, and you actually made a video of you reading the Doomophacy, and I saw that over 1,000 views on the first one, and I think the second one's already popping off. So that's good. I think more people are catching on, or being maybe perplexed by the mission so much so that they have to listen. Or
I think that. Yeah. Intrigued. I think the what'd you call it? Doomophacy? I can't say that word.
Doomophacy.
The Doomophacy that he put down on paper is exactly, at least my train of thought. I believe it is yours as well. And please spread that around. It might be confusing, but hey, listen to it enough times, it'll sink in. But and again, we can't thank Craig enough for the work he's doing, absolutely free of charge, of course, for Doomcast. He truly is part of the team. And if you are listening and you want to be involved, then all you need to do is Doug@blacklistednews.com, info@wideawakenews.com, subject it, I want to be evolved. I want to be involved, and here's what I can do.
Involved as well.
Be evolve with us, and tell us what you can do. We will utilize you. We will utilize you to be part of the Doomer Nation. We are not running this alone, and we want you on board. I'm more than sure right now that Craig's cutting up pieces of DoomCast 38, the funnier clips, to make into a remix video. If you got skills like that and you want to be involved, please, Doug@blacklistednews.com, info@wideawakenews.com. We want a team of Doomers making this possible. Doug Owen, can you add to that?
I go to DoomCast.com. It's all there. Lots of new content daily, videos, and congratulations to Charlie McGrath on his new adventure at BoilingFrogsPost.com.
Oh, I forgot to mention that.
I'll be on with Bob Tuskin tonight in the War Report on Republic Broadcasting, so look for me there. Until next time, my friends, take care.
Thanks, Doug Owen.
Thank you, Charlie McGrath.
You're a good man.
You are as well.
You're a good-looking guy, too. Did I tell you that?
Thanks, Charlie.
What's happening, hot stuff?